Hello, this is episode 184 of Nuggets Dungeon Terrain. It's a follow-up to the sci-fi episode in 183 where I created some sci-fi tiles. This is the doors that will connect it together. Let's take a look. The larger piece of XPS foam is 2 inches by 2 inches and it's half a centimetre thick. The door itself is that piece that's stuck on top. There's a corresponding piece on the other side. It's configured this way so that the door and any other pieces that go with it don't overlap with the base that's underneath. Once these sections were dry, they were stuck onto a 2-inch long base that was 1 centimetre in its other dimensions. It's laid out this way so that in addition to the 1 centimetre base, there's no chance of it touching the tile underneath. Here's the doors just before they were painted. I'm going to mention just a couple of the different techniques that I used. The door with a porthole was made by placing a grommet on one side, then putting a probe through to the other side so that I could line them up. I used this mesh for a couple of floor tiles. Now I'm going to use it as a feature on a couple of the doors. This is a cap gun cartridge, the one that goes in that revolver style toy. I had 2, so I'm going to place 1 on each side of the door. These can look like some kind of sensors or maybe some kind of cluster bomb or sci-fi claymore. I'm not sure if I should have done this a bit more, but on this door section I experimented a little with putting some drawn in details. For these heavy door hinges, I placed some small sections of cut up lollipop stick. On some of them I did these doubles, and on others I just did one longer section. Please note that normally a door wouldn't have a set of hinges on both sides. It wouldn't be able to work, but at least players can see it from any angle. I took the risk and used this glue to stick the base to the door section. It's a risk because it melts through the foam just like super glue. However, what it does do is if it comes into contact quickly, it fuses or welds the 2 sections together. You have to move pretty fast though, otherwise it just does the super glue melt. For a lot of the doors, I cut out a 4-hole section from the grid and placed it to look like a keypad. The doors all got a coat of black and then an overbrush of grey and then a good dose of silver. Then, just like with the tiles, I used this dabbing or stippling effect to add the colours to the different sections. I didn't want to make it look brand new. I wanted there to be slight patches and bits missing and some areas where the paint was still a little fresher and stronger. So the doors are all either red or green, or in the case of one, that yellow safety stripe colour. Once the paints were dry, I added a little bit extra in a couple of patches to make it look like it had worn in an uneven way. Now you've probably been wondering how a 1 centimeter base is going to stand up, especially if someone bumps the table. Well, the answer is the doors are going to be magnetized and they're going to attach magnetically to the bottom sections. I flood the area with tacky glue and then I place a neodymium magnet in the center. Takes a little bit of adjusting to line it up, and I wipe off the excess glue. Ready to go. The magnets are pretty dry, so now I go back to the main painting and do a heavy black wash over pretty much all of the spaces. It's not necessarily even. I focus especially on the bottom of the model, which is easy if you let plenty of water run it down and just use gravity as your friend. Then, just like with the mesh sections in the previous episode, I get out some brown wash to add some extra effect. I like the way it's going, so I also add this to a lot of the bottom sections of the doors. On every tile section, I go to 3 sides and then 2 inches from each side in the dead center, I place a single pin, about halfway up the base. Now I didn't place a magnet on both sides of the doors, but the tile base sections are less likely to slip, and once they start interlocking with the other door sections, they kind of hold themselves together. Note to you and myself, if I'd put the magnets on at the very start, I could have left it to dry, something like this, which came in very handy towards the end. In a moment, you're going to see all of the doors. It'd be great if you could leave in the comments which ones you think are the best. So the tiles look okay like this, but once you see the doors working, you know that you've got a game on. So thanks for watching. It's debatable whether they're YouTube ready, but they're certainly game ready, and I'm looking forward to using them in the near future. I'll catch you next time when I'll be looking at some different themed terrain to go on top of the tiles.